everybody. I'm Theo.
And I'm Marshall, and this is Twin Cinema.
All right, so we're going to be continuing our discussion for February, Foodie February, the films Tampopo and Babette's Feast.
Yes. So if you want to watch the video where we discuss each movie individually, you can go here. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, we can just jump right in.
Yeah, definitely. So, on the surface, obviously both of these movies are about food, and food features very prominently within them. Even Babette's Feast before the titular feast, there is a lot of food imagery. The sex, sort of everything kind of revolves around food. Their meals, yes, they're very simple meals, but that's very important to their meanings, and also the bread soup, delivering food to the poor. Food is very important to the film.
It's definitely important. It also, I think, shows. It's definitely a good metaphor of like how, dull. I don't know if dull is the right word, but it's a very sparse, utilitarian existence where food is not something to be enjoyed. It's just something that's part of you just have to do it. It's just part of your physical body. They just want to make it as plain and unappetizing as possible so you can focus on your spiritual life. Kind of like when we talked in the other video about Jerusalem, my heart's true home. To them, that's their home. They want to focus on that. And so food is just not important. It's just something they need to do.
Right, because food is very corporeal,
mm-hmm.
right? It's a sensuous act. And their attempt is to deprive themselves of any sort of sensuality because that's distracting mm-hmm. from their spiritual life. Now, I feel like that stands in stark contrast to the way that Tampopo looks at food. Mm-hmm. I found it very interesting when I watched it for the first time and I watched it again, is that I described afterwards, I was like, that movie is wholesomely erotic. Mm-hmm. It's really bizarre because there's this real, cognitive dissonance in that you have a film where the main story is extremely, family friendly, something you want to show your kids,
it's almost like a Disney movie, really.
But then you have these, sexually explicit scenes, mm-hmm. and then, scenes of people dying that are just, not something you necessarily want to show your kids. So, kind of what do you think about that? And I feel, but I'm curious to see what you say before I go into it, but I feel like that actually kind of is something that binds the two films together in a weird way. So kind of what do you feel about Tampopo's use of that sort of, jarring imagery of this, wholesome story and then this sort of eroticism or very quotidian daily life thing?
Well, even the eroticism I didn't feel was that erotic. It was it wasn't. There's definitely some scenes which even... Honestly, the most erotic scenes weren't even that explicit, like the scene where he's got the honey dripping down his lip and it looks like a vagina. But to me, the director really wanted to focus on how food is part of everyday life. It's not separate, but it makes life better. It's just something that enhances life, and it can enhance everything, and You have it in Tampopo where she wants to become better with her life. She uses food. We have the scene where, the two lovers are having sex with food and it brings a greater enjoyment to it. Then we have the mother cooking one last meal, and even though it's kind of sad, at the same time she gives herself up for this one act of love, and it's through food.
9時22分でした。
But going back to where I think that the film ties these films together is that both the sect in Babette's Feast and sort of the director's vision in Tampopo shows the sort of carnality of food. That at the basis of it, we're physical creatures. Really what we do is, we have these sort of philosophical ideas, these spiritual ideas, but at the end of the day, humans are animals. We eat, have sex, reproduce. Not everybody, but a good chunk of the people reproduce and die. Mm-hmm. And that's what those vignettes really. They're very humorous. They're very comical, but they sort of food is weirdly like this very basic part of our life, but because it's so basic and so common, it's like really elevated. And so it really connects us to a material, physical world. And likewise, I feel like that's why food has this such like taboo, or not really taboo, it's not what I mean to say, but this stark, in Babette's feast for that sect, it has this stark, like, you know, there's the sacred and the profane, and food is in the profane. And by sort of making sure they're devoid of any pleasure from food, they're keeping themselves away from the profane, therefore closer to the sacred. Whereas Tampopo comes from a very different viewpoint of, you know, food brings joy to life, which in the end is the point of Babette's feast.
Mm-hmm.
But, well, I guess it's the point of both movies, right? That food and that sort of carnality, that sensuality that food brings is something that makes life worth living.
Yeah, I wonder, though, if in Babette's feast the food isn't as materialistic as it first appears. Like, I think that's what the sisters' fear really is, that it's very materialistic. But if you look into it, what does it really bring? It brings, like, forth emotions, like with the two lovers who had an affair. It really does kind of bring emotions, and it's Babette putting her emotions into the feast. And it made me think of, I don't know if you've read the book or seen the movie, Like Water for Chocolate.
I've heard of it, but I've not seen it.
I read it, 10 years ago in college. But there's a scene where the main character, she is performing a wedding cake, or she's making a wedding, not performing, she's baking a wedding cake for her lover who's getting married to her sister-in-law, or not sister-in-law, sister. And she's really sad, and her sadness transfers to the cake and it makes people very sad and very sick. I feel like Babette's love of life and her devotion to the sisters, and implied to God, brings like this joy and happiness to the people of the sect that they wouldn't have had otherwise. So I think even though there is a carnality to it, I think the point is the food itself is a spiritual act, not just a carnal act.
I mean, I guess, I really do feel though, whenever they come to embrace the food at the end of the feast, they really, they realize what they've given up by denying all sort of sensuality and all sort of physical pleasure. You know, it's not made explicit, and again, you know, as we talked in the last video, that's one of the reasons I really love the film. It's not made explicit, but I do see this sense of regret that they didn't pursue more. That, you know, and again, Babette's feast is very widely you can interpret it, you know, either pro-theism or anti-theism. Mm-hmm. Not really anti, but sort of neutral to it. That, you know, sort of they cut off part of God's, like in trying to serve God, they cut off like this whole huge aspect of the world that God created for them. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's interesting because we have these two sort of ideas, and I feel like at the base, both movies, you know, do show food as very carnal, very basic, but at the same token, in this weird way in which like food occupies this sort of dual space. And when you're looking at the sacred and profane, I would say both films present food as both, right? You do have this sort of profanity of food. But then in both films, there's a sort of sacredness to it, specifically in the way in which, like, the main characters, or the chefs specifically, view food as art. Mm-hmm. You know, I would say both Babette and Tampopo view their cooking as art.
Oh, totally. No, I agree. It's an art. And, I mean, a good example of food as art and how anyone can enjoy the art of food is a scene in Tampopo where they go to the bum camp. And, you know, it's these people who you think would have no enjoyment for it, and then they're going through all this food thing, and then they sneak into a kitchen and create this wonderful rice omelet. It's kind of subverts like how what you think like the art of food can be and who can enjoy it. Because I do think food can kind of be used in a way to exclude others.
Definitely.
And it can be a very classist act, not to get political, but it can be very classist. And I think it makes a good point about how even if you aren't quote unquote what you think a foodie would be, doesn't mean you can't enjoy food or you can't be an artist with food just with your own means.
And I mean, that sort of idea, and when you compare just the cuisine that's like featured, obviously Babette's Feast focuses this like very haute cuisine, high French cooking.
Yeah.
And Tampopo features ramen, like the quintessential street food.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's artistry in both. Obviously, there's this huge technical artistry with Babette and the way that she constructs her dishes. The little, birds and sarcophaguses is amazing. Like, it's beautiful and I'm sure very tasty. But it's very interesting because of the way in which there's a sort of artistry in Tampopo. It's not just the food preparation. It's also the sort of like devotion she gives to her customers. That sort of like, there's that one scene where he's telling her like, look and smile.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at it that way, it's like there's beyond this sort of art of food, the art as the food itself, but also art as like the way in which you present food, share food. And not that doesn't happen in Babette's Feast, but it's way more focused on in Tampopo.
Oh yeah. Well, it's a hospitality act of food. Obviously, there's a difference between the hospitality of Babette doing a feast for a dear friend's father's 100th birthday and Tampopo having a restaurant where obviously if you want to survive, you have to be at least somewhat hospitable.
Yeah. But again, the way that she comes across, it's just, it is like their love for both. And of course, you see Babette in this sort of environment with just friends, but knowing that she was, chef de cuisine at a restaurant, she would have given that to her customers as well.
Totally. It's also just very interesting how Tampopo and Babette are just two. They're definitely different ways of like viewing food and hospitality. Like Tampopo definitely, obviously she is a mother, but she's definitely like all the time. She's very motherly, and just about every aspect, like with her customers and with Gun and all these characters. She almost feels like this motherly character. But Babette, granted, like her family died, but she's just very kind of, I don't know if aloof is the right word, but she's very cool.
Yeah,
she's very
distant.
She's shrewd. I mean, she's charming, but in a very shrewd, I guess maybe French aloof way.
Jeg skal I bruge et lille stykke flæsk. Det sidste jeg fik var harsk.
Det kan jeg ikke forstå.
Yeah.
And of course, that's obviously also just, we're talking about two totally different cultures and two totally different time periods.
And they're different characters. I mean, Tampopo is sort of, like I don't want to say coming of age, but no, it is kind of a coming of age story for Tampopo. Yeah, I mean, granted, she's, not, a young woman turning into a, full grown woman, but it's coming into herself as a cook, as an owner, as a restaurant owner, as an artist. Mm-hmm. Whereas Babette, that's not her role in the story.
Yeah.
The role in that story, and granted, again, Babette's Feast is a much more subtle movie. The growth is much more subtle, but she's not really the one who grows. It's the sisters who grow. So, I think that's a big reason there's that sort of you see with Babette, you see an artist, in her prime. Mm-hmm. Whereas in Tampopo, you see an artist coming into her prime. So I think that's kind of what drives that difference.
Yeah.
So, but, overall, I feel like these movies, like, wine and cheese pair very well together.
Yeah, I know.
And they're both Criterion releases.
Yes.
So.
They're two just amazing films. So if you want to have a dinner party to whet your appetite.
Yeah, I'm sure that I've seen recipes online or for, trying to recreate Babette's Feast. So, if you're really up for, like, taking a live tortoise and slaughtering it in your apartment, just go.
Good idea. Yeah, it is. I remember I read something about it. It was, like, obviously very expensive. So I would probably, if I was going to recreate something, it'd probably be Tampopo.
Right, much easier.
Yeah.
A lot cheaper to go to Mitsuwa and grab some ramen noodles.
Yeah.
Some pork.
But they're very good. And I think they're my two of my favorite movies in general, and they're definitely my two favorite food movies. Which I'm a big fan of the food genre of movies. So yeah. I mean, if you haven't guessed, see these movies. Get them when the is Babette's Feast still?
Yeah, it's in print.
It's in print, yeah. I can never remember. I don't know why we didn't get it at the last.
Anyway, Barnes and Nobles has their flash sale for Criterion. I recommend you buy both.
Totally. All right, Theo. So this is Foodie February, and what's up for next month?
I have no idea.
Oh, we're doing March Madness.
Oh yeah, March Madness.
Oh gosh, girl, you really are going mad. We got March Madness, where we are reviewing one of my favorite films, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, and what's the other movie? Gaslight, or Gaslighting.
Two very, gaslight is a phrase that's been thrown around a lot lately in today's political climate, and they're making a TV movie about Betty Davis
and John Crawford, yeah. So we, got to be topical. Got to get those likes.
Right.
But yeah, so be on the lookout. Sorry, basketball fan, this was not us doing a review of Like Mike and Juwanna Man. I'm sure that'll come up sometime. But
Maybe next year. All right, and as always, please subscribe. Check out the description below for links to the Facebook page. So please like us on Facebook so you can follow all our updates. Of course, check out alcohollywood.com to see all the updates for all of Alcohollywood's productions, as well as make sure you're listening to Clint's On Tap podcast. And, please make sure you're subscribing. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.